Good evening, everyone. The leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has been convicted on terrorism-related charges. This verdict has sparked nationwide debate. Some Nigerians believe the judgment was appropriate under the law, while others argued it may have been influenced by political considerations. My viewers, what do you think about this? Was the judgment fair and based on legal merit, or do you believe political factors may have played a role? Please note, we are not pointing accusing fingers and we are not taking sides. We simply want to hear your thoughts. Share your opinion in the comment section and remember, your opinion matters. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Now, as you may already know, the trial of the enigmatic leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, or IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has reached its sensational conclusion. He's been convicted of egregious terrorism-related offences and sentenced to life in prison. The judge, James Omotosha, declared that the prosecution had successfully established Kanu's culpability in perpetuating a campaign of violence and intimidation. He said that Mr. Kanu's incendiary broadcasts and diktats to IPOB foot soldiers had ignited a maelstrom of deadly attacks on security personnel and innocent civilians alike. Mr. Kanu's team has vowed to appeal, claiming that justice has been sacrificed on the altar of politics. So the stage appears set for yet more protracted legal battles, even as today's judgment and sentence have sparked intense debate and reactions across Nigeria. Well, to shed more light on this development and its implications, I'm joined now for reaction, analysis, and insights by the lawyer who represented Mr. Kanu through most of the trial, Barrister Aloy Ejimako, and by Honorable Benedict Etenebene, who represents a constituency of Delta State in the National Assembly. And from our off-site studio, I'm also joined by the current affairs analyst and professor of communications at Bayes University, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Let me start with you, Barrister Ejimako. I mean, it's taken 10 years after he was first arrested to get to today's verdict and sentence. What questions does that raise for you as a lawyer?
Well, the verdict, both the verdict and the sentence came as a huge surprise to me. First of all, this is a classic case of someone being convicted solely on words he had uttered from elsewhere, not even from Nigerian soil. For instance, the judge reeled out what was purported to be broadcasts made by Nnamdi Kanu from his location in the UK during the NSAS protests. And the judge relied or pivoted on that as one of the bases upon which he granted the conviction. But guess what? A lot of people died during the NSAS. A lot of them were innocent citizens. Notably, a lot were massacred at Lekki Toll Gate. And the NSAS report from Lagos State, mainly, and from Abia State, never indicted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or any member of IPOB or anything IPOB. But you see, the judge just went too far in extrapolating that NSAS incident and blaming it solely on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and not on any overt act, any physical act that he committed on the soil of Nigeria, but solely on speeches or broadcasts he made or utterances he might have made from his location in the UK. So that one is number one. Number two is that the judge also made references to utterances Mazi Nnamdi Kanu made in the United States as far back as 2014, before the World Igbo Congress event. That was 9 years ago. And then, just a statement that one could say was mere puffery. We need guns, we need this and all that. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, 9 years later, you said you now grounded a conviction on the claim that that statement led to the death of of someone in Nigeria. You see, they have thousands of IPOB or so-called IPOB, alleged IPOB members in detention, and none came forward. They never extracted any confession, you know, which was tendered in court, linking Nnamdi Kanu's utterances of speeches or broadcasts to any actual violence or crime or act of terrorism in Nigeria. None whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I will come back to you in a minute, but okay. Thank you for setting out that stall. Let me come to you, Honorable Etana Bene. I hope I'm getting your name right. Based on what you're hearing from a lawyer, Jumaque, or the barrister, as well as what I presume you saw in court today, are you feeling distinctly queasy about this verdict?
Well, thank you for having me. Ordinarily, I'm not too surprised, you know, based on the events, you know, of how this case started, you know. By the way, I'm a lawyer also, you know, so I kind of understand how, you know, it has come to this point. However, for me, you know, criminality against the state, I try to separate it into different forms. You know, you have economic criminality against the state. You know, we're talking about corruption and all those other things. Social criminality, you know, we'll be talking about murder, kidnapping, arson, and so on and so forth like that. Then we also have political criminality, you know. This area is very wide, depending on how you see it, you know. The actions of certain group of persons, you know, tend to undermine, you know, codified laws of the state. You know, it's what they call all this subversion and all those things, you know, like that. But you see, it is not generally acceptable by all the parties concerned, you know. If a group of persons feel for reasons best to their interests, says this is how they feel, you know, if you tell them at that point that they are committing crime against the state, they will not accept it, you know. They will rather want you to take out what is making them, you know, react, you know, in that form for you or for everybody to say, yes, a crime has been committed. I don't want to go far into many examples. If not, I'll be talking about, you know, why some people say there's genocide somewhere and some people say, no, there's no genocide, you know, somewhere. So you that is feeling it, you know. So most political criminality issues, you know, it's not today. It started many years ago. Then Nelson Mandela, they went through such trials, Nkrumah, you know, even in Nigeria, even the perceived winner of our June 12th election, you know, was convicted based on, you know, political criminality. So for me, when we get into the topic of political criminality, my first response to handling this matter is also political, you know, not through the legal processes. All these, our forefathers, you know, Jaja of Opobo, great Nana of Ishekiri, Oba Overami, they opposed against the state at that time. They tried them, but we know that they were fighting for the liberation, you know, of our people. So most political criminality, I rather suggest that we should explore every alternative dispute resolution techniques, you know, before we begin to talk about, you know, all this. I listened attentively to the judge as he was delivering, you know, the judgment. I did not see anywhere that the gentleman was tried, you know, for murder. If not, would have had people coming to testify that he killed this. The people who died would have been mentioned. All the first, second, third count, 4, 5, as it may be. The utterances, statements made. I was born in Saple, you know. All this kind of talk, we have heard them many times. We don't take them, you know, seriously. But in any case, all the things they said, he said, were words that the state wants to hear. But I did not hear when he said that the issues in the Southeast can be resolved if they give him 20 minutes or a few days, you know, to... Those are very positive words for peace.
But you would have thought that those words would be coming from him in his defense. And he, I mean, because the court relied essentially on the prosecution to get the case through, because Nnamdi Kanu was not putting forward that kind of defense, especially at the critical time when he needed to deliver that defense towards the end of the trial.
My brother Charles, see, there are some cases, you don't just bother yourself. If the state or the powers that be, have fixed, their mind, on it. Look.
And is that your assessment?
If you may recall,
is that your assessment that they've fixed their minds on it?
The stories were on. If you may recall, the Ogoni 9, at a particular point, Gani Fawehinmi had to withdraw, from that, case. And ditto so many other instances like that. If you feel you are not getting, judgment the way you like, why continue?
Right. Okay.
Even in elections,
right.
There are people who manage to go through the trial of elections tribunal when they know that they are not going to get justice.
Well, let me ask you to hold on there. We're going to come back to you in a minute, and let me go to our off-site studio where Professor Abiodun Adeniyi has been patiently waiting. Thank you very much indeed, Prof, for staying with us. What are your initial reactions to the court's decision? Do you think it's a fair outcome or a politically motivated one?
Well, thank you very much, Charles. First, I never expected that the case would last this long, because my impression about the matter is, like the honorable member from Delta State said, quite political. I was imagining that long before now, it should have been taken out of court through what attorneys call nolli prosequi, so that the tension in the land or the disturbances in the southeast, which existed prior to this time, will probably, have been mitigated on account of the release of somebody who has been identified as a symbol of the struggle, of the youths, or the sentiments that often resonate in that region, as the case could be. So ordinarily, I was expecting that it should have been resolved long before now. But there are also some other issues that kept arising. The personality in question appears to be somebody who is somewhat tempestuous. We'll keep seeing him in calls and in places appearing slightly unrepentant, as the case could be, consistently fairy. Things that could also continuously be irritating to the powers that are interested in prosecuting him. And of course, in the build-up towards the end, the business end of the trial, lawyers who are trained in the business of defending and prosecuting, supposedly or were reported to have pulled out, from around him, that he was going to defend himself. This is somewhat strange, and I'm wondering, I started wondering how he was going to pull this through successfully. So what we are seeing now appears really predictable, but there's also a room, a reason for us to be gratified that the judge didn't give, a death sentence. Life imprisonment, still gives some more room for some window, some positive window. And of course, we also still know that higher courts are still there. The appeal court is there. The Supreme Court is also still there. There might be some room in the future for the judgment to be reversed or to be reviewed, as the case could be. And again, political solution is still a continuous thing, something that can still continue. The narrative is not ended yet. In the future, there might still be a need for us to have some consequential review, remembering that in recent years we have had government pardoning all kinds of people, So in the future, we might see some government, without prejudice toward this appeal court, the Supreme Court will say in respect of Nnamdi Kanu. We might still have some political solution to the case, because what it means with Nnamdi Kanu remaining in prison is that, something is still missing in our nation-building efforts, we know what he represents, we know that he has sympathizers, and we know there's some powerful sentiment supportive of his cause. And if that cause, that sentiment is locked in prison, it still means that there's something that we haven't dealt with. So I still believe that in the future, whether in the short or long term, it's something that we need revisiting, as the case could be, Charles.
Prof, thank you very much indeed for...
My viewers, after watching this video, what do you have to say? Was this a fair judgment or a politically motivated one? Was justice served, or was this a strategic move in a much bigger political game? Tonight, we're not making accusations. We are simply opening the door to the conversations people are already having across the country. And remember, your opinion matters. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you.